full moon. A spooky, deserted mansion. Halloween night.
All right, dudes! And dusters! Let's party!
10 kids. All they want to do is raise a little hell. Now, as long as they live, they'll wonder what's gotten into them. Night of the Demons.
Blessed be the sinners, for the day of atonement is at hand.
Stop looking at me!
We're gonna get out of here!
Night of the Demons. Party till you drop.
And welcome to the Cult Cinema Circle podcast. My name is Jesse, and I'll be your host. Before we get started, please make sure you subscribe to the show on your podcatcher of choice, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to give the show 5 stars and a 1 to 2 sentence review, and tell me what you think. If you'd like to follow the show on social media, you can do so on Instagram at Cult Cinema Circle, or on Twitter at Cult Cinecircle, or you can send me an email at cultcinemacircle@gmail.com. You can also follow me on Letterboxd at Jesse Kremp, JESSEKREMP, all one word, and all social media links will be put in the show notes. Now on with the show. Today, I want to, wish everybody a wonderful, happy, spooky season. We're almost at the end of it. It's right around Halloween, really. To be able to celebrate that, I wanted to do a little movie that is a very Halloween-y type movie, but I couldn't do that alone, though. Today, we're going to be covering a little film from 1988. It's Night of the Demons. But I couldn't do this by myself, though. So I had to bring on my horror correspondent, horror-spondent, if you will. Heard him on many of my other episodes. He's pretty much my horror co-host at this point, which is fine with me, really. But please welcome back to the show, one, the only, Pickens Barringer. Pickens, how does it feel just to be my literal co-host at some point? I don't know.
Oh my gosh, it feels like such an honor. I'm so excited. I have lipstick tubes coming out of my titties.
Yes. Oh, girl. So, yeah, with Night of the Demons, of course, like I said, when you're hearing this, listeners, it's around Halloween time, literally the day before or something. But yeah, I thought, why the hell not? I do actually like this movie. We'll talk about our histories with it respectively, but overall, this is very much the Halloween vibe movie. It's schlocky, it's weird, and it all kind of comes together for me, really. But Pickens, I would like to hear from you, though. What is it about Night of the Demons? What's your history with it? When did you first see it? And what is it about this that kind of, makes you enjoy it, I guess? And then I'll share what my experience has been with that.
So this might come as a little bit of a shock, but I only first saw this movie 2 years ago. It was always on my radar. It went on that never-ending list of movies that, I was of course I'll get to watching it. Never watched it. And then I think finally, it was one of my It was my friend. I think it might have been my friend Brock. Maybe I don't know. Someone basically that finally was like, "Have you seen? Oh yeah, Night of the Demons." Like, because obviously you should have. I'm a huge Linnea Quigley fan. I'm a
Of
huge horror
course.
fan. So you kind of, I mean, you would think that'd be the movie. And I was like, "Yeah, I've never seen it." And so I made me drop everything, sat down, and we finally watched it. I was like, "What took me so long to see this movie?" Because it's great. It's like you said, it's schlocky. It's fun. It's fun. It's a big Halloween party. Very good Halloween vibes. A lot of really great makeup effects, and it's a great time.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And that's crazy. I didn't realize you only watched it like 2 years ago. Like that's actually kind of what my experience was really. And to be honest, if anybody goes on my letterbox and looks, I actually gave this movie a 2.5 when I first watched it. I don't think I was all that impressed, really. I was like, what is this movie? I was just watching it, in my room, and it was like probably around the October time or whatever. But I was just like, what is this? Like, I don't even think it's that good. But as time has gone on, I really do kind of appreciate this movie more and more. And I just think like as I've been able to kind of get into just schlockier horror movies, watching the stupid TV originals or like watching these different like kind of schlocky horror movies of the 80s and 90s, I've just really kind of enjoyed what this is. And I think there is something cool going on here, So, and I really do think like this is a movie where, in addition to something like The Haunted Mask, where I like to watch those episodes on Halloween a lot of the time, this is also another one where I'm like, I would probably watch this pretty much every Halloween, which is very much the reason why I wanted to cover it today. So, yeah.
I'm so glad that you said that because I had a similar reaction the first time I watched it.
Hmm.
It was like, I was like, this is fine.
Right.
This is cute. This is cute. But then, it stuck with me. And then when it
Hmm.
came, back around Halloween time, I was like, I could watch Halloween for like the 5 millionth time.
Right.
But I was like, let's try Night of the Demons again. And I think I enjoyed it more. The
Mhm.
more the more I've watched it, the more I've actually enjoyed it and appreciated
Yes.
it.
Yeah, I really do. And it's just made me want to watch like the other movies in the series and just really kind of get this. And we'll talk all about that. But as we normally do, we'll go into some figures of the film, talk about a little bit of production history, things of that sort, and then break down the plot, characters, themes, all that fun stuff. But yeah, now Pickens, neither of us were alive in 1988, so I can't really ask you like, what did you think was going on in 1988, right? In terms of in terms of like just culture or like any of this stuff. But I do have some information I got 1988 in film. Would you like to hear the top 10 highest grossing films of the year by any chance? Just to give us an
Please
idea.
enlighten me.
Okay, so at number 10 we have Die Hard. So that came out. And at number 9 we had Big. Those made about maybe almost 141 million for Die Hard and then 151 million for Big. Cocktail, which I think is that movie with Tom Cruise, came in at number 8. A Fish Called Wanda with Jamie Lee Curtis. You speak of Halloween, but yes.
Yes.
Have you seen A Fish Called Wanda? I haven't seen it. Is it
Oh
good?
yeah. Oh, it's really good.
Okay.
It actually holds up and it is really funny.
Okay, good, good, good. We have Rambo 3 coming in at number 6, and then we have Twins with Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger as well. There's that. Crocodile Dundee 2 also was at number 4. And then also the beginning of, I think it was a series or they did a remake of it, Coming to America from Paramount. Both of those films were from Paramount. It was coming in at number 3. And then one of my, it's a really good animated movie. I don't know if it's one of my favorites, but it's definitely up there for me, is Who Framed Roger Rabbit. You've seen that,
Oh,
of course.
absolutely. I
Yeah.
wasn't bad. I was just drawn that way.
It's so good. Like it really is. And oh, I love that movie. It's so good. And then at number 1, we have, I think it's Dustin Hoffman role, if I'm not mistaken, but it is Rain Man from 1988.
Yes, Dustin Hoffman and oh my gosh.
Some guy. Oh my God.
It's not Robert Downey Jr. No, it's not. No, it's not
No, it's
him.
one of these other guys, right? Hold on. I got a
Yeah,
computer right in my pocket right here.
I
Hold on.
know, right? We
We
do. It
have
is. Oh,
it's Barry
Tom Cruise.
Levinson. Yeah, okay. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Tom Cruise. Yeah, Tom Cruise and Dustin Hoffman. Yeah.
Love that. Okay, yeah, but that is what we were looking at in terms of like our top 10 grossing movies. And would you like to hear just some of the people who debuted in film this year because we've got a good amount of people that I just think are really cool.
Ooh, yes.
Yes. So some of the people are Tim Allen. So he actually made his debut in Tropical Snow. Stephen Baldwin, don't really care for him a whole lot, but he made his debut. Let's see who else is there. Annette Bening, of course. Like we know Annette Bening, Oscar nominated. I think almost Oscar winner, if anything. Like, has she won an Oscar? She might have.
I think she might have. Did she not win for American Beauty?
She might have. I think she did. I'm almost certain she did, but I don't remember. Oh my God. Wow. Go yell at me, the listeners in the comments or, in whatever. Um, Laura Flynn Boyle, actually, she was, this is right before Twin Peaks, but she was in Poltergeist 3. Little boy by the name of Macaulay Culkin was actually in his first film this year, which is kind of fun. And also, I'm covering a Julia Roberts movie next month, actually, but Matt Damon actually made his debut in Mystic Pizza. Have you ever seen Mystic Pizza ever?
I actually have not seen Mystic Pizza.
I
That
haven't
is
either.
one I really wanted to see. But for some reason, I always think Cher is in that movie, even
Oh,
though
right.
she's not. But for some reason, I've always just thought, oh, that's a movie that Cher's in.
Oh, right. Of course, of course. No, she's not in it. No, of course. David Duchovny actually made his film debut. He was actually in funny little thing, Working Girl, which I think is really funny because he then just like
I love
played a
that movie.
similar. I know, I haven't seen it. I really do want to watch it. And it has Joan Cusack in it and all this. It's funny because then he would end up playing like kind of, I don't know what kind of, I don't know if it's the same kind of role, but he would end up being in Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, which is kind of like a working girl, sort of like spiritual, like, I don't know, kind of a mix mash, if you will, which I thought was
I
interesting.
can definitely see that. Yeah, definitely the corporate working girly lifestyle. I'm right on top of that,
Hmm.
Rose. We found out Annette Bening has never won an Academy Award, but she's been
So
nominated
unfortunate.
for five, which is absolutely insane.
That's crazy because she is very talented, in my opinion. Yeah. Who else is there? Cuba Gooding Jr. He was in Coming to America, so one of the highest grossing movies of that year. He was in that. And our girl, we love our girl Danielle Harris. She made her film debut in Halloween 4 this year, which is
And
crazy.
what a debut that is.
It's so good. She was so good in that role. Oh my God. Um, and she's been living just with it ever since. um, Neil Patrick Harris actually made his debut as well. I think this was right around the time of Doogie Howser or right before it as well. Felicity Huffman also made her debut. Bonnie Hunt was another one. She was actually in Rain Man. Fun little thing. You probably knew that because you've seen it. But there's that. Mila Jovovich actually made her film debut as well, which I'm like surprised by. Some of these people I'm just like, really? Like they'd never been in a movie before? Like it's crazy.
This is shocking very
It
much because
really
like these are really
is.
people I grew like just guys, this makes sense because we've known them since we've been born, but still it's crazy.
Yes. Jane Lynch made her first appearance, I believe, in a movie, which doesn't surprise me, but like then she would go on to have a bigger career later on. Good old Jennifer Lewis. We love Jennifer Lewis in this house. From Beaches. Love that for her. Dermot Mulroney actually made his film debut as well, and also David Hyde Pierce, who would end up being on. Was he on Cheers already, or he would end up being in Frasier, right, or something like that?
Yeah, Cheers would have. I feel like he would have. Yeah, because Cheers was I think was in the early 1982. I think is when it started. So yeah, that would
Mhm.
make he would it would make sense if he had been on it already.
Yeah, probably, most likely. God, who else is there? Actually, Julia Roberts made her film debut in the movie Satisfaction this year as well. And then she would end up being in, of course, like Steel Magnolias, Pretty Woman, all this stuff. This is where it starts. And she also was in this and Mystic Pizza around the same year, which is kind of crazy to me. And then Stephen Root, you may know who that is. He's actually he's from Office Space. He was also the voice of Bill on King of the Hill. He was in Crocodile Dundee too.
Mm, hmm
Yeah,
hmm
yeah, you know who that is. Alan Rickman was in Die Hard, so he would end up being Severus Snape, of course. Steven Seagal
Oh,
actually as
R.I.P.
well.
Maggie Smith. Speaking of Harry Potter.
I know. Unfortunate. We don't. I may own all the Harry Potter Blu-rays, but we don't like J.K. Rowling. She can fuck off. But Harry Potter's still, a very good movie series. So yeah. And then Lily Taylor, funny little thing, she was also made her film debut with She's Having a Baby. And I guess also Mystic Pizza came right after this as well. Because again, this is all around the same year.
Oh, I love Lily Taylor. I'm sorry, Lily Taylor. So
you
my
can
exposure to her,
always.
my exposure for her was obviously the Haunting remake.
Right.
Was just infatuated with her so much that I think I wrote DreamWorks a letter, basically telling them that they should make hundreds of sequels to The Haunting, but just keep having Lily Taylor's character alive or just have her ghost just be in all of them.
Oh my
So
God.
if I was running Hollywood at like what at 6 or 7 years old,
Hell yeah.
Lily Taylor would have actually just been in every movie ever.
As she should be, to be honest. I love Lily Taylor. Like, oh my God. I first became exposed to her from 6 Feet Under. She plays a role in that, which she's fantastic in it. But then I go back and I see her other stuff, like, and she's in like a John Waters movie. She's in Pecker. She's in, I thought she was really good in Say Anything as John Cusack's friend, who's like also kind of secretly in love with him, but like, whatever. That's a whole thing. I think she does really good in The Addiction as well, which is like a vampire movie. Yeah, no, Lily Taylor is an icon, and I love her so much. Like, oh my God. And then Marlon Wayans apparently was in I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker. So that's him before the, In Living Color and all that stuff. But that kind of gives us an idea of like maybe what was going on at the time in terms of like films and stuff. Of course, we're having these blockbusters, quote unquote, but also you have something like Rain Man making like top grossing because it gets people's heartstrings, if you will, and all of that.
Yeah,
But
I'm actually surprised that like out of all of like that top 10 you listed, Die Hard is actually like near the bottom of
I
the
know,
list. Because I think like nowadays, Die Hard would definitely be at number one, and all these sentimental, like kind of more drama
yeah.
character driven movies would be like mid range.
Sure, sure. Yeah, that's very true. It's very true. But a little bit about Night of the Demons though. So in terms of Night of the Demons, this came out, if I'm not mistaken, in around October. So no, September actually. So September 9th of 88 is when this came out. However, that's when it debuted at least, but then I think we'll talk a little bit about the marketing release of this, but it did end up getting regionally released out, and then it did do a wide release at some point. But it made its film debut in 88. This is 89 minutes, so it's really cute little 90-minute movie. Love that for that. Distributed by International Film Marketing, which just makes it feels like a fake like film distributor. You know what I mean?
Totally, yeah, total like money laundering type of name. Like
Literally.
what's the most generic name we can get? International movie. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, international film, blah blah blah. Right, exactly. And then 3.1 million for budget estimated. However, from listening to the what is it, the commentary, I think it was actually more so like $1 million of the actual budget. So let's just say they weren't working with a whole lot of money. Let's just say that. In terms of I don't have any opening weekend rank or gross because I don't even really know I don't even know if this really did like a wide release, to be honest. I think it like did regional releases, but it didn't like go wide everywhere. It kind of did different markets, if anything. But overall it made about $3.1 million. So that's pretty decent. That's good. Again, I think it was more of a budget of like $1 million-ish perhaps. And then it ended up making about 3.1, which wasn't too bad. And then in terms of just critic response, we have a 43% on Rotten Tomatoes with about 14 reviews, and then also 58% from the audience score, and then a 3.1 out of 5 on Letterboxd. So yeah, that's a little bit about just like the numbers of the film, but let's get into our cast and our crew of this film. So this is the sophomore effort of one Mr. Kevin S. Tenney. He had done Witchboard for his first feature, and he then did Pinocchio's Revenge in the 90s. And he also served as like a producer on the remake of Night of the Demons and things like that. Do you have thoughts on Witchboard by any chance?
The only thing with Witchboard is that I get that, and is it Witchcraft? There's one that's like direct to video that has like a
Mhm.
million sequels. I always get them confused. I don't
I
know. I don't think I've
yeah.
ever seen Witchboard actually.
Yeah, you might be thinking of Witch Trap, which I think he also might have been a part of, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I don't really know. Yeah, with Witchboard, it has Tawny Katane in it, rest in peace. And then of course, Kathleen Wilhoit as well, the voice of Pepper Ann. She's also in there. And it's a fine little movie, I guess. Like I actually wasn't really blown away by it, to be honest. I've watched it before, but whatever. But I will say I just like this movie way more. But he went to film school. He ended up dropping out his senior year to actually do Witchboard and all this. But yeah, that's a little bit about Kevin S. Tenney. I'm sure he could go on about his own self at some point too. He seems like a nice guy though, from what it seems. The writer for this was Joe Augustin. So Kevin S. Tenney did not write this. He actually wrote Witchboard as well. But Joe Augustin, he wrote Night of the Demons 2, which is a sequel to this in 1994. And he also was a part of writing, I guess, the remake, which was in 2009 as well. But yeah, he had, kind of shepherded this series, if anything. Because nepotism is a hell of a drug, we do have composer Dennis Michael Tenney, who, if you can guess, is the brother of Kevin S. Tenney. Um, but he worked on Witchboard. He did Night of the Demons 3's music. He also did this music for Leprechauns for 3 and 4. So if you notice any sort of through line between the music in this and the music in Leprechaun 3 or 4, that's why that is. But that's nice. You could at least give your brother a little something.
Absolutely, yeah. Hey, if your family has talent, use them. That's what I've
Exactly.
learned in wedding planning so far. It's just basically what I've been told is this: if your friend has any talent, make sure you use them. So,
Exactly. Um, yeah, so I think there's that. Also, I think yeah, but with cinematography though, our cinematographer is actually David Lewis. So he did Night of the Demons 2. He shot that, but then he also shot Holiday in the Sun, which is a Mary-Kate and Ashley movie. I don't know if it's the film
oh,
debut of, but it does have Megan Fox in it.
oh my gosh, yes, because she is the antagonist.
Yes.
Oh, Holiday. Oh, I love Holiday. That's the one where they go to the Bahamas.
I think
Yes.
so. That sounds
Yes,
correct.
because the one when they go to New Zealand, that's Our Lips Are Sealed. So this one is the Bahamas one where they go to the at the time brand new Atlantis Resort, and I always
Right.
wanted to go.
Right. Oh my God, that's so funny. Oh my goodness. And then Daniel Duncan is our editor. He did the remake of I Spit on Your Grave from 2010. So that's what he edited.
Which I was not mad at actually.
You weren't, I haven't really watched it. I think I tried watching it, but I'm not really I don't think I was really the
It
Damien from Mean Girls is in it, which is really weird to
it's
me.
more digestible than the original. I'll go
Fair
with that.
enough. Fair enough. I get that. Yeah. No, I did watch because of our conversation earlier this year, I actually ended up watching I Spit on Your Grave this year. And it's hard to watch, however, I will say, it is very much a I don't know, there is a certain level of catharsis there, having Jennifer be able to get the revenge she does, but I don't know. They also went way more than they needed to in terms of sequels to this remake. I feel like maybe doing the one remake is fine, but I'm like, did you really need to have 3 other movies like
Oh yeah, I have
this?
not seen any of the sequels. I heard they do kind of fall into like more of a Saw territory type
Sure.
thing, and it's like, okay, guys, what are we doing here?
Yeah, exactly. We'll also talk about the special effects of this movie just a little bit later on, but we'll move into our cast a little bit. But those are our main, crew members, if anything. We then have our cast. We have Kathy, who plays Judy in this role, Kathy Podwell. This is one of her first films she did. She did something before this when she got her SAG card, but then she ended up doing this film. And then she would end up being on Dallas, actually, and she was able to do that, which was cool. She was able to quit her job waitressing to end up doing this movie, which was nice. Be an actual working actress and be able to do that. So we love that for her. We then have, in a way, the one of the really notable female villain franchisee people, Amelia Kincaid, who is the Angela Franklin, I guess. She is the demon Angela, if anything. She was in Night of the Demons 2 and 3. And she makes her convention appearances as Angela and everything. She is also a renowned pet psychic because those exist. So she's
Which
written
was,
books on
yeah,
it, everything.
completely like when I found out that little tidbit, it was just like, wait, what? Huh? And then of course she'd be a pet psychic communicator.
Of course, where she'd be summoned by the queen to help her like connect with her pets or whatever. Of course. How could we be so naive? Like, of course. But yeah. I didn't put Linnea Quigley as Suzanne. I mean, I literally just put my notes. You should know who Linnea Quigley is. I mean, we
Just
obviously
all you have
know.
to do is just put in that clip of Wendy Williams. Well, she's an icon, she's a legend, and she is the moment.
She
Now,
is
come
the
on.
moment. Now, come on now. Exactly. Like, oh my God. She's just like, she seems so awesome. And like, she knew exactly what she wanted. I think she knew how to kind of play the system in terms of being an actress, and she
Yeah, I think
worked to her strength.
she's self-described herself as the blue collar, she's a blue collar worker of
Yes.
Hollywood. Have you seen the documentary Screaming in High Heels?
No, you told me about it though. I haven't seen it yet. I need to find it, or I need to find where to like
Watch it.
watch
It's
it.
so good. Yes,
Yeah.
really good.
Love it, love it. And then Hal Havens, this is one of his other roles he did. He was also in Sorority Babes, which we covered back on the beginning of the show. And also he's in a little film that I like, which I didn't realize he was in this, but it doesn't surprise me. He's in a Winona Ryder film called Welcome Home, Roxy Carmichael. And I think that's a cute little movie, actually. I really like it.
I don't think I've
Um,
seen that one.
yeah, it's fun. Yeah, go look it up. But it's really good. Like it's a little Winona Ryder movie. Jeff Bridges is in it. Dinah Manoff from Grease is there. It's a whole thing. It's actually really fun. It's like a comedy drama, but yeah, it's a good time. He plays Stooge, of course. Donnie Jeffcoat, who plays a little brother to Judy. I don't even know what the hell his name is. Um, but he is from actually Ghoulies 2, because he did that right before doing this film. But he also he was one of the hosts. Speaking of Goodings here, Omar Gooding was also one of the hosts of Wild and Crazy Kids on Nickelodeon, but so is Johnny Jeffcoat as well.
I loved that show.
Yes. Yeah. So he was one of them because he was a little bit older. And he was also in Wish Upon a Star as well. He played Katherine Heigl's little
Is,
boyfriend.
is that the Wish Upon a Star? Is that the Mara Wilson movie where she gets the
No,
wand? Or
no, that's a
I'm
simple
thinking of something else.
wish.
A
That's a
Simple
simple
Wish.
wish.
That's right.
Wish Upon a Star is where Katherine Heigl and Danielle Harris are sisters, and then they switch places Freaky Friday style.
Oh yes.
Yeah, it's a good time. Lance Fenton plays Jay in this movie, who is Kathy's like boyfriend, quote unquote, I guess. The other thing in the movie he's very well known for is being in Heathers. He plays Kurt or Ram. I think he plays Kurt actually, but yeah. So he was in From Heathers, which came out the year after
Kurt
this
or
did.
Ram, they could just ram me regardless. Mm.
Of course. And then also William Gallo, who plays Sal in this movie. He is from Pretty Woman, actually. He was in that film. And then he was in Crash as well, I think probably later in the 2000s. So, and he was also like on Who's the Boss, I think, and like a couple different things. But there's some other cast members. Is there anybody else in the cast that you can think of to kind of shout out before we move into anything else regarding this?
I mean, no,
Nah.
it's a little bit of a cast of a few. Yeah, we've touched the main ones, I think.
Notable people, but then some of these people who didn't end up having like the biggest careers, really, which is fine. I mean, this was also kind of a small film, if anything. But yeah, so that's a little bit about that. But I mean, in terms of any sort of like production history, I really didn't find a ton of this. The basic thing you need to know is that, Kevin S. Tenney ended up getting this on his lap because I guess Joe Augustin had written this as a movie, and he ended up getting it into the hands of somebody who wanted to produce it. And then they had known Kevin, though, who had done Witchboard. And so after doing Witchboard, they needed another project, really. And so once they got Joe and him together, they were able to bring the production to life. The production originally was supposed to be called Halloween Party because that makes sense. It's a whole Halloween party. But then because of some issues with the producer of the actual Halloween film series, who was pretty much threatening legal action. That's why they then ended up changing it to Kevin literally had to he went home and wrote out a bunch of titles, and then Night of the Demons, which is the one that stuck. A
I
fun
think
little thing.
honestly, best it's good that they did that because I think Halloween Party, well, yes, technically that's what the plot of the movie is. I think it's just a little generic or it just sounds a little, I don't know. I think Night
Right.
of the Demons fits this way better.
Yeah, totally. I agree. And then also what's kind of funny is that they shot it as Halloween Party. It was all of these things. And so much so that they actually animated because the opening animation sequence to this is so good. But literally they had done it as Halloween Party. So they had to kind of last minute change that and just put an overlay over Halloween Party. And it was big enough. Night of the Demons was big enough to kind of cover it. But it really came down to the wire of I guess we have to change this name. But it ended up working out, which is fine.
I do
But
want
yeah,
to say I miss animated opening credit
me too.
sequences. I just feel like we were really that good portion of the late 80s, early 90s. We just got a lot of animated opening credit sequences and they were
Mhm.
great.
Yeah, there were some really good ones. My favorite, even though he's a piece of garbage, but True Beverly Hills has their one with Make It Big from the Beach Boys, and it's so good.
I love that movie so much.
It's
Shelley
so good.
Long. Oh, so good.
Yeah, and then unfortunately, the guy who made Ren and Stimpy did that actually, and he's a piece of trash. But the you know that sequence is still awesome though. I still love it. But
I
yeah,
just recently found out the Scooby-Doo movie from the 2004. They
yeah.
originally had an animated opening credit sequence that was in the style of the original cartoon,
Oh my
and the
god.
stupid producers cut it. They said it didn't fit the vibe.
I don't understand that. That's crazy. Also, I was watching a little interview with Sarah Michelle Gellar today, as I am wont to do, and she said they were talking about the Scooby Doo movie, and she talked about how yeah, there's a scene where me and Velma kiss, which is a deleted scene. There was also apparently a scene where she told Fred that his ascot made him look gay. I mean, it's true. It's
Oh
true.
yeah,
Let's be
no,
real here.
there's apparently a whole R-rated cut of the
Oh yeah.
movie. And we're release the R-rated cut.
I know, right? Yeah. It was I think very much like the kind of like the Brady Bunch movie in a way. Kind of like that kind of vibe, if you will. Which I think makes total sense in my opinion. But yeah. But yeah, it's a little bit about the production of this. I mean, really it was I think they shot it over a month or maybe they didn't have much to shoot, I don't think. They ended up finding this house which was a real house in LA, which really did look this fucking creepy and apparently it was overrun with cats apparently. But once they were able to go in and clean it, they were able to dress it up and not even really dress it up. It already looked really creepy. But this was a real house. They had to cover up the sounds of LA when they were shooting because it was a real LA street right there. So yeah, but this is a real ass house and it got demolished and it's now turned into a Ralph's. So I'm thinking that the Ralph's is probably haunted, to be honest with you. Let's be real here.
Honestly, if they make another sequel, it should just take place at Ralph's now. Abandoned department store. We
Seriously.
got it.
Abandoned grocery store. Let's do it. Oh my god, yeah. And then some of the people in the cast, like I said, Kathy Podwell was able to stop waitressing and do this job, and then was able to be a working actor. Linnea Quigley actually was brought in because people had known her, but Kevin did not know her. He was not a horror fan, even though he made a horror movie. He was not really a horror fan like that. And of course, she's a horror icon at this point. And was on Up All Night with Rhonda Shear and had been called the Queen of the Bees and all these things. So to bring her in, but she actually was not trepidatious to do this, but she was kind of just being told everything that you're auditioning for you're too old for, really, because at this point she was 26 maybe in this.
Which is just absolutely insane to think
mhm.
at 26 you're too old. It's like, oh my gosh,
Right.
you
Well,
guys. I mean, I get they're
especially,
high
yeah.
schoolers and this
Yeah.
they're supposed to be teenagers, quote unquote, but like
Yeah, no, totally, totally. But and so she was just like, I'm not going in for this. But then once they were like, no, we really do want her, they kind of offered it to her on the spot, which in my opinion, I would too, of course. Like why not? Yeah, there was that. The other one was Alvin Alexis, who plays totally forgot about him. He not really, but he plays Roger. He actually was supposed to, he literally had come out to LA. He really didn't have anything happening, honestly. And he was actually planning to go back to New York. He was from New York City. He came out to LA to try it. Didn't really work out. It wasn't working out. And he ended up getting an audition. He only had like another month's rent, I think, like literally. But he was planning to go. And the same day as the audition was the same day he was supposed to leave to go back to New York. And he literally just had to like pray on it and be like, I guess I could hopefully get this movie. Otherwise, I'm going to be out on the street in LA trying to get back to New York. But it ended up working out for him in the end. And, I don't think he's had much of a big acting career or anything, but it's kind of interesting when he has that story that, it really came from like this guy was already a guy was already cast in that role, and then he got a haircut apparently, and they didn't like how his hair looked, and then now they had to recast him, and that's how Alvin got cast. So I think that's kind of crazy, and and we'll talk about it, but it was really cool to see people who were not just all white people in the movie, which was always nice to see. And it kind of set a nice little, it was a bit of a subversion than what we had normally seen, which was kind of cool for sure.
absolutely. Yeah. It finally just anything that kind of changes the norm a little bit, shakes things up. I'm always down for it.
Yeah, I agree. Although I will say also too, I was listening to producer commentary on this, and one of the reasons I think they were able to do that too was because they did end up doing this as a SAG movie, but I think they did this as a SAG diversity type of thing, like a little bit of affirmative action going on, where they were able to like, if you could cast diverse people, you could still get SAG actors, but like you pay them a little less, which is kind of shitty for the actor, to be honest. But that's why you have someone like Alvin Alexis, I'm sure, who I think does pretty decent in this film. But I also think that's probably why Franny is like an Asian girl, you're like, why is this a thing? Like, oh, okay, cool, I guess. But like, it's just one of those things where like they had a tight budget. They had to kind of go with what they were going. Otherwise, this very well could have just been a non-union project, but it didn't end up doing that. You had people who actually had been working. So that's kind of cool too. But that's kind of a little thing I learned from them. And I'm like, the magic of movie, folks. That's what happens, right? Like
honestly, ugh.
Literally. I know. It's just it feels weird, but like at the same time, I'm like, but that's the truth though. Like that's what happens sometimes. But if anything, it was cool to then see people who were a little different. The other thing too about this film as well is that apparently in the initial script of this, there was supposed to be a gay couple in this, but that ended up getting changed around. So, that happened
that
too.
That would have been oh my gosh.
It would have been really
Why
good.
Did it cut that? Oh my gosh. What?
I don't really know. I don't really know. I mean, like, I don't think it's because Joe Augustin didn't want it, but I mean, I don't know, maybe just having to change things around to kind of like satisfy other people or whatever.
It's the 80s. It'd be a hard sell. I get it.
I'm sure. Yeah, that's also something too. It's okay when girls do it, which is in this movie for sure, but when guys are doing it, it's not the same kind of a thing. But yeah, no, I think that's definitely like a little bit of production stuff that I can find out. A lot of this is coming from the You're Invited featurette from the Blu-ray. It's also on YouTube where you can find that, and it's talking to people about this film. And also some of the commentaries as well. There's the commentary with the cast and director, and also the director and the producers as well, which is kind of, it's cool to have those. It's kind of nice to see those. But Pickens, I have a little a task for you. So if you had to maybe like before we get into the actual like plot of this movie or anything like that, if you had to like tell somebody kind of an elevator pitch of like what is Night of the Demons about, how would you maybe describe this to somebody who's never seen it before?
Actually, this is a pretty easy one to do because while the movie is like entertaining and fun, it is pretty generic in a nice way. Basically, Angela is having a little Halloween party. She invites her friends. They all go and they perform a little seance. And slowly but surely, they all start getting possessed and slaughtered by demons.
Yeah, pretty much. That's like the baseline of it for sure. Yeah, no, totally. That's like how it definitely is. Yeah, so it's a Halloween party gone wrong, really, is what that is. In terms of the characters, though, so like, what do you think of like, out of all of these people, who would you say is like your like favorite character? I guess if you had to kind of pick.
It it's definitely a tie between Angela and Suzanne.
Mhm.
I think because mainly they're they're the best actors in my opinion.
Oh, right, sure.
Um, yeah, but also they just seem to be having the most fun.
Mhm.
It's just there's a lot of fun with their characters. They get the most stuff to do essentially.
Yeah, no, totally. I actually agree with that too. I think even though I do like Roger, I think he's like a good little character for sure. But I will also say like I do think probably my favorite, I mean, I guess would be kind of it's a toss up between like Roger and I think also like someone like maybe Angela in a way. I just think like she's a cool girl. Like, she's kind of weird a little bit, but like, she is somebody who is trying to have a fun time. She's trying to have this like little party going on. And I tend
She
to enjoy
reminds me
that.
a lot of a Frieza Bulk's character in The Craft. I feel
Agreed.
like they're cut from like the same cloth, basically.
Totally, totally. I agree. Yeah, they kind of look a little similar and yeah, they look a little similar. They have like a similar vibe to them, although I don't know if Angela is as angry maybe outwardly. Obviously she's
She's
just a
like the
demon.
nicer version. Yeah, she's the more fun, nicer version.
Nicer version, if you will, although kind of sort of like whatever. But yeah, no, because the unfortunate thing is that like Judy as a character, she's fine. Like Kathy Poswell's fine, but like I don't, I'm not like enthralled with her as a final girl. Truly, I really see her and Roger as like the final pair. Honestly, and I don't know. There's like something that
This
she
is
does have her
definitely
moments.
this is definitely a movie that you're kind of rooting for the demons because
Love
once they get
it.
into the picture, that's when the movie really like races up, like starts getting really exciting and just more entertaining, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think like it's a showcase of the demons and then the final girl and the final characters like of her and Roger. I like Roger and I think I like Judy in some way, but I'm not like she's really just the final person. She's like one of the final people. She's not like the stereotype of like or the trope of a final girl. She just happens to be the final girl in a way. Yeah. So because I only find her to be so strong in this, in my opinion, but that's just my thought, if anything. Yeah, totally.
You would think that like, Angela, Suzanne, like someone else would have been like kind of like set up to be the final girl. But you're right.
Hmm.
It's like because like Angela is like one of the first people to become a demon, really.
Agreed. Yeah.
And then it's just kind of, oh, by process of elimination, you're left. You'll
Hmm.
do.
Yeah, exactly. And it didn't end up being something which is good, but it didn't end up being like her and Sal at the end. You know what I mean? Which is I actually think is really good because even though I like Sal as a character at some point, he does kind of redeem himself in a way because a lot of these men are like awful. But I do think like Roger in general, like, he gets to show that like he's never been about this shit, honestly. But Sal also gets to redeem himself a little bit as well because you find out that Jay's just like awful. There's just like a little too many characters in this movie for me too, in my opinion. But like, overall, like the men are kind of trash in a way, except for kind of Sal and I guess maybe Philip Tenzini's character or whatever, the guy in the scrubs. Like he's fine, I guess. But
Yeah,
overall, I don't know. It's like one of
it
those
is.
things.
I think you did hit the nail on it though. There is like maybe too many characters in the movie. It's a little too she was a little too free with that invite.
A little bit. I agree for sure, for sure. Yeah, but we'll kind of get into the plot a little bit, and then we can kind of talk about things as we go through. So yeah, this starts off on Halloween. So Angela Franklin and her best friend Suzanne, so Amelia Kincaid, and also Linnea Quigley's character. Also, fun little thing. And Amelia Kincaid's she was a dancer and all this. She became an actress because her actually aunt Rue McClanahan from the Golden Girls actually encouraged her to be an actress and actually got her like a little bit part on like Golden Girls is like I think a prostitute apparently like which is kind of funny.
Of
um
course, of course.
why not, of course. But yeah, like
Well,
but
it
she was
is
able to do little
flirting's part
things.
of my heritage. Her mother was a slut
Exactly.
too.
Exactly. But yeah, so they're throwing this party at Hull House, which is a mortuary that was abandoned due to its like gruesome past. It's rumored to be cursed by ghosts and like demons, really, evil spirits. So we have all of these people. So you got Stooge, who's Hal Havens, Helen, who is Christina Barron, I think her name is, and then also Roger, who is Alvin Alexis. They're driving past this elderly man who is carrying like apples and razor blades because that's the kind of guy he wants to be this
And
Halloween.
also, I just feel like every I remember hearing these like rumors,
Uh-huh.
growing up about the people that put the razor blades in the apples or the cyanide.
Yeah.
This was such a thing because this also was a trope. I think this happened in Halloween too. Also, somebody gets a razor blade in
Yes.
their mouth.
Yeah, they do for sure. And so yeah, but it's very much this, and it's never actually, it may have happened like once or twice. It wasn't like this is a widespread thing or like cyanide in your candy and
I
stuff. It's
don't
like
think they've
no.
ever been able to prove the razor blades have
Yeah.
does never been able to be proven. I know that there was that one guy who attempted to he did put poison in his Halloween candy, but I think the only
Yeah.
people he ended up killing on were his actual children, and I
Yeah.
think maybe like their friends. Like so he never really got to do the full widespread thing that I think he was originally planning.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. But yeah, so that's just something that again adds to like the Halloween atmosphere of this, because it's like that legend, if you will. But Stooge, he kind of slightly moons the guy out of the passenger window of this car that they're in. He curses at them and he says that they'll get what they deserve. And then we also see Judy in the street as well, who's walking back home to her, little apartment she shares with like her mom and her little brother. We have this like whole scene where like Judy's getting changed. Have this creepy scene where fucking Donnie Jeffcoat is commenting on his sister's breasts, which is kind of weird, but like okay, I
Very, very,
guess.
very weird. Yeah,
Like
predated Game of Thrones. Incest has always been a thing.
I know. Yeah. But Judy, she gets in her little Alice in Wonderland outfit and she ends up meeting with Jay, who's Lance Fenton. They meet up with their friends Max, who that's Philip Tinzini's character, Max. See, there's too many people in this. And then Franny, they're meeting up for the party. And then when they arrive, though, because Sal had already stopped by Judy's house, but that's her little ex-boyfriend. He then actually crashes the party at Hull House. So they're like starting the party by dancing and everything, but then the radio dies. And then as a result of that, Angela decides that they're wanting to now do like a seance as like a party game or whatever.
Obviously, like, just option number two. Once the music died, it's just like, what else could we do? Some people would choose spin the bottle. Other people,
Right.
let's just do a seance. Why not?
Exactly. We can't do Twister or anything. No, we have to do a seance, obviously. But yeah, this is then they're doing this like past life seance in the wind and the mirror or whatever. And then Helen, she sees this demon in the mirror and it's foreshadowing her death pretty much. And so as a result, the mirror ends up falling, breaking and into pieces. And then there's like this really cool shot that they have where all of the party goers are in the different like shards of the glass that's on the ground, which is really well done, actually. I thought that was a
It
very
is,
nice little
yeah,
touch.
that's one of the shots that stick out in my head when I think about this movie.
Yeah, totally, totally. It's really well done. But yeah, as a result of all this, the demons that are in the house have freed themselves and they have now been able to possess one Miss Suzanne. I always just think like you are very much like the Suzanne coded. Do you know what I mean? Like you have your little
That is the
compact.
nicest thing you've ever said about me.
Yeah. You have your little compact and you're just like, I just want to look good for the boys. You did invite some
And
cute
let's be
boys,
real,
didn't you?
I would be distracted. That's exactly. I would just be like, "Are guys here? Awesome!" And I would totally be the first person to be possessed by a demon. Let's be real.
Let's be clear here. Come on, let's be real. But yes, so although I could be like, I would love to be Angela's little like goth self. I love that. But yeah, so we see Suzanne like she has fucking, been possessed, but hasn't been like fully possessed yet. They're deciding to search around this house a little bit to see what else is going on. But as a result, also we then have Suzanne decides because I think it's Helen and Roger, they want to leave. And so Suzanne's like, hey, here, take Angela's car and whatever. And then she actually kisses Angela in a homosexual kiss between two ladies.
That's scandal.
Scandal. But this is also to manifest the demon into her too. So now they're going to be both demons. So that's what happens with that.
And also, I think that might just be Suzanne. She could be, low key a little bit of a lesbian, and maybe this
Maybe.
performative heterosexuality that she's doing, really
Mhm.
boy crazy, is just a way to disguise her true feelings. And now the demon is bringing them out.
Yeah, no, totally. I think that that's fair to kind of say that as well. Like, there is something to be said for like the fact that this is like a gay kiss between these friends, but this is also at a time where people were still thinking like you could catch AIDS from just, any sort of contact with somebody. So the fact that like this is a little transgressive in that way, and it's of course for a little bit of the male gaze, but like, it's definitely something where they were doing something a little different, a little out of the box, if you will. But yeah, it was also just to then make a demon out of somebody, really. When Judy discovers that Jay only invited her to the party to have sex, she decides to say fuck him. And outside, Roger and Helen, when they're trying to leave, they don't find an exit. Helen, though, disappears and she just kind of like ends up nowhere. She ends up dead, really. But Roger decides to go into Angela's car and like lock himself in there because he keeps hearing like voices saying his name, which is really, really creepy. We then have Stooge wanders with Suzanne because Suzanne decides to like, go for some pork tonight, apparently. And instead, though, what happens is like he gets locked outside of this like bathroom she goes into, and her face is starting to transform. She smashes a mirror while she's in there, and then she ends up going to what ends up happening is that she's in there, Suzanne's in the little bathroom, and then Stooge goes back downstairs where Sal and Angela are. Angela has now been possessed. So you have this whole scene of like Angela trying to like kind of discover her body a little bit now that she's possessed, like the demon within her is. And so then you have this like very seductive dance that's very well known now to One Stigmata Martyr by Bauhaus. I mean, it's kind of a very iconic dance for sure that Amelia Kincaid choreographed her own self. But yeah, do you have anything to say about that dance or anything like that?
I mean, you pretty much nailed it on the head.
So
It's
good.
very iconic. I mean, I feel like maybe, I mean, I'm sure if people have never seen this movie, they may have seen this dance.
Hmm. I agree. I agree. But yeah, so she sees that, she's dancing because she's like possessed and feeling herself, feeling her oats. And then she ends up dancing with Stooge a little bit, but then she pretty much just like bites Stooge's tongue out of his face and just kills him, which is just very iconic. And I like that. Jay then is wandering off and he finds Suzanne, who has like drawn on her face with like lipstick and stuff, before she then puts it into her breast, as you mentioned earlier. But as she's like pretty much fucking Jay, like she's riding him, she then reveals her demonic presence to herself. And that's when she gouges his eyes out and she tells him to stop looking at me. Like, it's so good. I really love that.
Yep. And again, it just goes back to that whole, she is tired of the male gaze. She is just tired
Yeah.
of having to look pretty. She can now be her beautiful, authentic self, possessed by a
Yeah.
demon.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it's interesting too, because like the demon really, the thing is you could say like the demon kind of got her because she was distracted by herself in the mirror. She was so kind of vain and looking at herself all the time. And in a way, like the demon is using her own vanity kind of against her, which I thought was really interesting. So it's like it's drawn lipstick on her face, it puts the lipstick in her breast. It's these things where it just gets a little weird, and it's using these things that are normally known for beauty and for making yourself look good, but now you're using it as
Making
kind of
look
a
good for men, but using
yeah.
it in a more alternative, weird, quote
Mhm.
unquote, creepy way, but
Yes.
also like freeing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting how they kind of have that. And, again, like she's the most overtly femme and sexual out of all of them, really, I guess. But, it's interesting how she then becomes possessed first, and now she has to kind of have these other people be possessed, which then goes from Angela to then goes to Stooge and so on and so forth, really. We then have Max and Franny who decide to have sex in a coffin, which cannot be comfortable. But Stooge actually comes
Absolutely not.
in. I know, right? And he kills them. So he I think snaps Franny's neck, and then he kills Max by I think like what's the word? What is it, like crushing his arm off or whatever? I don't know, like
Yeah.
dismembering him.
Yes. Dismemberment. Thank
Yes, his arm is, that went bye-bye. So that all happened as well. Yeah, Sal ends up being like really freaked out by everything. So like he sees like Angela put her hands into fire, which was a real stunt that they did, which could have ended badly, but it didn't, thank God. And so you have that. You also have outside with Roger, you have Helen's body being like, apparently she got killed, and it crashes onto Angela's car, which is like crazy. But yeah, I mean, like it kind of is down to like, Judy and Sal. She ends up escaping or trying to escape. Judy does. Sal ends up getting killed because he falls off the roof pretty much with Angela as well.
and
Um,
gets hit by that spike.
and gets hit by a spike, yes, or is it's like very much Ginger Snaps, like where he falls on a spike or whatever, like and gets impaled by one of those. Yeah, and then so you have all that, and then Roger and so all of those people are now dead because again Jay got his eyes gouged out. Yeah, a lot of people are dead now, and so it comes down to Judy and Roger, who are being chased by the demons. They find themselves in the crematorium, and they end up using, or I guess Judy ends up using this gas line to kind of then set at least Stooge and Angela ablaze. And that all happens, which is cool. And again, these like special effects are just so good. We'll talk about them in a minute, but like you have them burning, which is good. They escape then upstairs. They're cornered by these different demons. And Roger decides to say, fuck this shit, I'm out. He jumps through a window and they begin to climb up the wall. They grab onto barbed wire and they're, going up. And so Roger's trying to escape, and then Judy's behind him, but she's just like, I can't do it, nah, 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 whatever. And so he's like, yes, you can though, like, let's go. And so he ends up jumping this fence or this wall, and then Judy is almost being taken by these fucking demons pretty much, but then Roger goes back for him, which is nice, and then they're able to escape Hull House, and all of these demons end up being banished back to hell because they realize that Halloween is the one time where they can come up to Earth and be in the mortal world, but then they have to go back to hell. And yeah, they escape. And so they're walking down the street, I guess, and they pass by this elderly man from the beginning. And we've realized this is now, I guess, November 1st. And his wife has been up like a good amount of the morning, early morning, making pies because he did buy apples and stuff. And we see that she has made him a pie for breakfast. I don't know who eats pie for breakfast, but okay. And we find out that
Leftover apple pie for breakfast is wonderful. That and pound cake are a good breakfast, Jesse. I do not want to hear anything else about.
okay, that's fine. But yeah, so he ends up eating this pie, this apple pie that his wife made, which apparently has razor blades in it, and we see the blades slice through his neck. It's a really cool effect. And then yeah, the little old lady just says
Happy
Happy Halloween,
Halloween.
dear. Yeah, it's like really cute. And that's pretty much what the plot is of Night of the Demons. So pretty standard, if anything. But in terms of like, we already talked about like kind of the favorite characters we have in this. Do you have like a least favorite character in this at all that you can think of? I mean, I think there's a few to choose from, but do you have any kind
Yeah,
of least
I
favorite?
mean, really, all the guys just kind of suck. I mean, Sal, you're right. Like what you said earlier, Sal does redeem himself slightly, but
Right.
even like everyone from the guys and to the old man too, like clearly his wife
Yeah.
killed him because she was just tired of his bullshit. But
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, so I really, it's like kind of like you go girls and you suck guys.
Yeah.
Also appreciate a movie that does end in a full circle though, because we start with
Mhm.
the old man, we end with the old man, and it all just comes together.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that for sure. Yeah, no, I think my least favorite character, oh God. Yeah, some of the guys in this are not great. I think probably my least favorite out of all of them is Stooge, really. I think he's just like kind of, I don't know what the hell he's doing here. And also I just find him very just like gruff and misogynistic, and I don't love that about him. Like he just keeps calling, like he calls Helen a bitch many times in this, and it's
Oh,
just like ugh,
multiple times. It's like,
Jesus
yes, girl,
Christ.
stop.
Yeah, what are we doing? Right. It was just like off-putting. So yeah, didn't really like that. And again, like the one guy who's like cool in this is Roger. And then, I guess like Max is fine, but he's like a hardly a character even really. So, there's all that. But yeah, that's definitely my least favorite. I don't think I like him a whole lot. Fucking pig. He literally is a pig. Like literally.
A male chauvinist pig of all in all. Oink, oink, oink.
Yes, yes, yeah. I think this movie really does like such a good job at like in a way like because I don't I like Halloween, but like I don't participate in it really. And I think Halloween has just changed over time because of our society and like we don't always go to not everyone's trick or treating all the time. Depending where you live, you don't always do that. So it's just different from when
It
maybe
is
we were
so,
children.
it really is, because I have such good memories,
Hmm.
horrifying memories, but positive memories of just getting excited about dressing up and like the
Hmm.
whole trick-or-treating and like going outside and there's that mystical feel in the air and it's
Yeah.
fall and the smells. And now like my brother has two kids
Right.
and yeah, they'll dress up for like school kind of, or
Hmm.
they'll maybe go trick or treating like down their street, but never the
Hmm.
full caveat of like going out and running around the neighborhood at nighttime, collecting as much candy as possible. That's like that has died. I just watch horror
Yeah.
movies. That's how I celebrate.
Yeah, pretty much that's kind of what I do. But I really think this captures that certain spirit because I think like just the setting of Hull House, which again was a real location, and it just looks really creepy. But also like the costumes in this are really simple as well. Like all of this feels like stuff you could just like create really. And it
Or
doesn't
go to a
feel,
thrift store and find very
yeah,
easily.
very easily. It's really nice. But yeah, I just like that kind of Halloween atmosphere. Like it very much does. It's one of those movies where like people have watched the different films, whether it be like Hocus Pocus or, like I said, like the Haunted Mask
Not
like movie.
hocus pocus.
I
Oh.
know, right? But no, like these different movies, or like I said, the Haunted Mask, like Goosebumps show, or just certain things where people think of like Halloween or whatever. But even like this just really kind of gives me Halloween vibes, even more so than something like Halloween does, because yes, it takes place on Halloween technically, but I'm like, there's only so much
The
Halloween.
green trees of Pasadena and the summer of it all. Yeah,
I know.
it can be a little difficult to get the vibe sometimes.
Right, totally, totally. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I know. I think this does a really good job at kind of setting up that Halloween atmosphere, which I really like. And I think that's why this is something that weirdly enough, it came out a month before Halloween, kind of, or like it premiered at least. But that's why I think why this has kind of had that sort of thing of people watching it over and over, especially during the Halloween times, for
And
sure.
and this is like the irony of it. It is a really good party movie. Like this is a good movie you could like have on in the background if you're like,
Yes.
especially if you're having a Halloween party, and just it'll capture the vibes. You'll like see something creepy, but it's like a Halloween kind of music video-ish kind of quality to it.
Mhm.
You're right. It's just really it captures it.
Yeah. And what's funny about that too is that for like Angela's dance and a couple of the other shots, they actually use the camera that is used in music videos. So that's kind of interesting too, because it does have this kind of vibe of, this was definitely marketed on MTV, for example, and wanting to kind of target that older teen demographic, if anything, to then go out and see this, which is cool. I think this movie also is really interesting because it's definitely a possession movie. It's a haunted house kind of more movie, but it's not your typical haunted house movie. But it really uses this kind of, I think demonic possession can always be kind of like read many different ways. We look at things like The Exorcist, or we look at like, this film, or maybe other films that,
Evil
also,
Dead. Yeah,
yeah, Evil Dead.
it's like if Evil Dead meets like Halloween meets like just like maybe like Night of the Living Dead kind of.
Right.
It's kind of like it takes elements of every type of horror movie and just kind of throw it into one like little
Yeah.
blend.
Yeah, totally. I agree. I think with demonic possession, you can always kind of have that. And I think with this one in particular, this really kind of shows demonic possession as a way of like rebellion, because these kids are doing something that they're not supposed to do, but like they're able to kind of like have this party, and they're getting possessed because they're doing something bad. And then also, like we were talking about earlier, like there is this sort of sexual awakening. Judy is very much a chaste person, I guess, quote unquote, which is quote why she kind of lives at the end, I guess. And then Roger is somebody who comes from like a religious family, so maybe that's why he kind of is able to live. But yeah, like but all these other people, like they are doing something of rebellion, they are doing something they're not supposed to, and so that's what then keeps them susceptible to be possessed like this. And so I think it's
But
an interesting way of
also
looking at that.
but when they do become possessed, they do kind of inherit this kind of more freedom or
Yeah.
this more like they let go of like this. I mean, yes, the murder and stuff awful bad, but
Yeah.
like they feel free. It's also because the
Hmm.
demon is finally can manifest itself back onto like the earth, but there's a freedom and it's like kind of like
Yes.
a lightness to them that they no longer care.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Because that's a big part of demon possession anyway. But for sure, this one, it's just that they're having more fun, and they're able to kind of to be able to torture the living still a little bit more, which I thought was interesting. We do have to talk a little bit about these special effects. So I mean, the guy who ended up doing these, Steve Johnson, was the main guy who did this. He had come from working with Rob Bottin and also Rick Baker, I think, a little bit as well. So he had worked on some bigger budget projects like under these people, but this was his first film where he was actually kind of the head honcho. Fun little fact too, he would end up going and he met Linnea Quigley on this set, and he would end up marrying her a couple of years later. They didn't end up staying together too long, but it's fun that they were able to kind of meet and get together on this, which is nice. So, but
Bringing
yeah,
horror movies, bringing people together. You
yeah.
made me look like a horrible demon. Let's get married.
I know, right? Yeah, but what are your it's crazy because like these effects are so, in my opinion, well done with I mean, Steve Johnson had to kind of get a little, they didn't have much. So it was kind of this interesting thing of like being able to use different kind of old school tactics, a little bit of different techniques, to kind of bring these to life. But what are some of your favorite like special effects or practical effects in this film? I know there's a few to
Oh
choose from, but what
yeah.
are some of your
I,
faves?
I mean, yeah, just to reiterate what you said, the special effects are incredible. And I've saw like a lot of these effects. Like I've seen clips and I've seen stuff from this movie way before I saw the movie itself. But the one that really just sticks out to me is always going because this is the one I think I remember the first time I saw it, it was like I think I watched like a YouTube compilation of like the most gruesome 80s effects or something, practical effects in horror movies. And it's really when Linnea Quigley puts the lipstick into her breast. Like it was like because I was a teenager when I saw the clip and I was just like, ooh, super repulsed by it. And now I'm like, this is so cool. It's that and all of the I mean really all of the gore effects and the effects on the demon. The demons actually look creepy. Like they're actually like pretty like I would want to see that like if that happened in front of me, I'd be freaking out too. So it's just the way their faces look, especially how Angela looks. She looks super demonic and crazed and scary. And the lipstick in the boob.
Yeah, no, I totally definitely love the lipstick and the boob, obviously. And I also really like I like Angela. Fun little fact, she was on roller skates for that, which is kind of cool. That's how she was able to kind of have that like floating kind of little effect, if you will. But yeah, that's always just like it looks so fucking creepy, and I think it has been able to scar a certain amount of people for sure. But I just really, yeah, no, that's definitely one of my favorites as well. I also like the eye gouging scene. I thought that was really well done, and the way that Suzanne looks when she's doing that to Jay. I don't know. I liked her face in it. I like how they gouged his eyes out. I really, I don't know. I thought it was good. It was just kind of good time for sure.
Yeah, eye gouging is just that's what I have one of the I have my whole family really has it, but the thing with the eyes, it just always like I'm a masochist. I watch Lucio Fulci movies, but yeah,
Yes.
anytime there's an eye scene, I'm just like, oh, that always just gets.
Yeah, no, totally. Like you can only watch Zombie 2 or whatever so many times where you're like, oh God, like I can't be doing this. Fulci loves him some eye stuff. Let me tell you something for sure.
A little too much. Yeah.
A
Eyes
little
and
too
being a
much.
massive misogynist.
Yeah, true, true, true. But yeah, totally. Yeah. And I also think this movie, like in a not a weird way, I guess, but like in a way it kind of is able to mix comedy and horror really well. Like it's horrifying, obviously, but like there are some funny parts to it where, I mean, just everything from like, Angela like robbing the little convenience store pretty much and using her friend as a way to like do that. Do you guys have sour balls? Like these different things where you could see that there was a bit of a tongue-in-cheek kind of aspect to it, which I thought was kind of
Absolutely.
fun.
It's having fun. You're having fun with it. Like
Hmm.
yeah, it's dark and gruesome in the most lighthearted way possible.
I agree. I agree. It's not supposed to be too like, it's scary, but it's not, there's a lightheartedness to it in a way, that I think is a fun time for sure. Yeah. And I think like probably because of how this movie was released, really, I mean, I don't think it ever really had like a big wide release like that. So this ended up going to home video, I think. And you have like the standee. There's a really cool thing if you get the Blu-ray for this, or maybe even the DVD. But there's a little promo reel, and this is like a little reel that you could send out to different investors or different people who you're like, hey, buy Night of the Demons to like, put in your video stores or like put, distribute or whatever. And it's like a cool little thing that has like the different metrics that they had and where it's premiered and all this. But one of the things is like you could also buy this for home video distribution, and like you get this little standee with Angela's face that has like the little blinking lights on it with her eyes, and So I just thought that was a really cool little thing. I'll have to maybe insert that in here somewhere, or see if I'm able to link it anywhere. But yeah, no, I thought that was a good time. But this really, I think, ended up living on home video quite a bit, as you know, we saw this only a couple years ago, but I think a lot of people ended up finding this from being on home video like that, and that's, I think, why it then kind of is able to get a second life, if anything, because you did have the second film, which was in 1994, which was a Paramount movie, and then the third one, which I think was a direct-to-video movie, which was in 1997. Have you seen either one of those like sequels at all, or not?
I have not seen any of the sequels, and I attempted to watch the remake like briefly, but it was just I was like, I'm good. I've yeah, so I've
Yeah.
only seen the first.
No, totally. I think that's fine. I have watched Night of the Demons too. It was cool. I didn't mind it. I think it is it's technically a little better than the original movie, in my opinion. But I mean, all of these movies are kind of the same film, really. That one actually has Christine Taylor in it before she was Marsha Brady in the Brady Bunch movie.
Oh, okay, I did not know this, so that might make me not watch it.
Oh
I
God.
love Christine Taylor so much. That's funny. I never heard of a George class at our school.
Oh my God, you need to go watch it then. It's actually not bad. Like, it's actually pretty decent. Jennifer Rhodes is in it. She was in God, who is she? She was in Gilmore Girls, wasn't she? Or she was like one of the people on there or something. Or no, wait, no. Who Jennifer Rose is? Oh my God. Now I gotta look these things up. But yeah, she's in there for sure, for sure. Not a whole lot of other like people though. I mean, like, not anybody of note except for, I guess, Christine Taylor. Even the like, and of course Amelia Kincaid's there, obviously. But let me see who this is. It's because it's the guy. Because Merle Kennedy is like Mouse. She's like the main character, kind of, sort of. Yeah, Jennifer Rhodes. She is from. Oh, duh. She's the mom in Heathers. She's Winona Ryder's mom.
Oh, you too.
Yes. Oh, you too. And she's also in Oh, duh, Pickens. I'm an idiot. She's also the mom in Slumber Party Massacre too. That's what I should have used it with. Jesus.
Oh my God. Okay, that beef stroganoff or pasta dish that they're eating in is for some reason all I if I could that's one of the few dishes if I could ever eat in a movie I would want that. For some reason it just looks so good with the lighting and everything. I've always wanted.
No, I totally get that. That's for sure.
And also I just love Slumber Party Massacre 2. Slumber Party Massacre 2 is so good. Brock, if you're listening to this, you're wrong because he doesn't like Slumber Party Massacre 2, and there's something wrong with you. Oh, that movie's so good. Oh, it's so.
Send this episode right to him for sure. So as you stated, you were able to get through how long of the remake that you said?
Oh, it really wasn't that like a few minutes, but it wasn't necessarily the movie itself. I was not, how sometimes you just have to be in that mood to watch a movie. It was just that. I was just not really vibing with it. I think I was really busy that day, and like I was just like, oh, I'll just watch this. And it was just a lot of distractions were happening, and I was just like, not, it wasn't captivating me. So I was just like, I'll give this another chance. And that other chance never happened.
No, totally. I get that. I have watched that before. And listen, I think you need to divorce yourself from this being a Night of the Demons movie if you're going to compare it, even though it is a remake technically. But like, it's just something where if you can appreciate it for a stupid movie that it is, it might be kind of fun. But overall, like, I don't think it was the best done, to be honest. And that's saying something for some of those remakes, as we've talked about before.
That's what I've heard about it.
Yeah. It's but yeah, I can't say in good faith that it's a good movie, but I think it's stupid trash enough that, it could be fun for a stupid watch, but it's not something where you'd be like, oh, this is actually a really good movie. I think there's an ironic sense.
To be fair, you theoretically could apply that to the original.
I agree. Oh yeah, you're right about that, because ultimately, like, there is a level of legacy this movie has had, but really the story It's trash, mama. Like, it's not that good. It's not that well written, truly. Like we were talking about, some of these characters, you're like, they're not super fleshed all the time, so it's one of those things where it's like, we're not like we're talking about the original being like this iconic piece of art or anything. I think it's just fun for what it is, but it's not, reinventing the wheel or anything like
It's not a
this.
Slumber Party Massacre remake.
Right.
It's a lesser, lesser.
Yeah, no, totally. I agree with you on that. But yeah, it's one of those things where if it's streaming for free, maybe you could watch it, the remake, but it's not that good. Like, they got Shannon Elizabeth in them wigs. Ugh, wigs. And like Monica Keena's there while she was with Edward Furlong in real life, and Edward Furlong's there. It's a whole thing. Like,
Oh
I
my
don't know.
gosh. Oh, that's a name I haven't heard in a second. Wow.
I know. And oh God, the one girl who I think was she in the sequel to Texas Chainsaw 2003, or she was in that, or was she in 3D? Was she in? Oh my God, now I have to look.
Are you talking about was she in White Lotus also?
I think so. Deanna Baird or whatever her name is.
Then that would have been 3D if that's the case.
Oh yeah, you're right. I'm looking it up right now. I got
Thank
Google in
God
my
she was in
pocket.
the White Lotus because I had a vendetta against every single person that was in Texas Chainsaw 3D for a while because I that movie was a burning passion.
She is in the beginning. She's not in Texas Chainsaw 3D.
Okay, you're right. They have yes. Okay, who am I think? Okay,
You're
they
thinking
have
of the other
interesting
girl.
names. Yes, the other girl. I
Yeah.
really actually like Texas Chainsaw at the beginning. I think it is a very good.
Yeah. I'm not the hugest on it, but I do see like, the gore value in it. It does a little bit more gore. So I understand why some people like it. I'm just not the hugest on it necessarily. Maybe I have to watch it
That's
again, but
valid. I would try it one more time because like it definitely you're right from a gore perspective, very practical effects, very chainsaw heavy. It's good.
mhm.
It's like how the remake to the first one is kind of true to the original where there's not as many chainsaw deaths and then this Texas Chainsaw Part 2 just went crazy. This one
Mhm.
kind of goes crazy. I would give it another.
Yeah, I would give it a watch again, probably. Like I would watch that over like 3D any day. So that's just my opinion. As you should, Jesse, as you should. So I also want to watch like I just saw it on Letterboxd, but have you heard of The Convent by any chance? Have you ever watched that movie? It's from
You said the
2000.
con man?
No, The Convent.
Oh, the convent. No, I don't think I've seen that.
Yeah, apparently that's kind of like Night of the Demons, but in a nunnery, like in a convent. And I kind of want to watch it. I don't know. Maybe I will. It'll be fun. But yeah, so yeah, I think this movie, like, I think because it ended up being on home video, especially, and it is like you said, I think it's a good Halloween vibe movie. I think that's why it's kind of had the staying power it's had. And yeah, do you think it's gone on and influenced any other horror films that you can think of? I mean, obviously we're having movies, that are influenced, you know, you have movies that Night of the Demons are influenced by, like you said, Evil Dead or some of these other ones. But do you feel like Night of the Demons has been able to influence any other later horror movies that came out after it or anything like that?
I I mean, thinking on it, I mean, not anything that's coming to my mind. Maybe like I maybe some trauma movies, or like I think maybe more of like a modern sense, like some B-rated schlocky movies. But
Right.
I don't know how much of a grasp it necessarily had on a culture
Mm,
standpoint. I think you're right. I think it found its place in home video and probably some like late night viewings,
yes.
showings or something. But I don't know. I know what inspired it, and but
Hmm.
I'm never gonna say no. I'm sure there's movies that have been made because of it, but
Hmm.
I don't know, because it is kind of a smorgasbord of what was popular at the time.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Even using like, in the tagline of like, Angel's having a party and Freddie and Jason were too afraid to, come to it, and just calling that out, which is
Which
kind
is
of
a
funny.
really good tagline. I
It
love it.
is. It is really good. But yeah, and I think it's because it's doing a little something different as well. And if anything, Kevin S. Tenney, I mean, this wasn't anything he wrote, but I mean, he was able to bring this to life. And I think also Joe Augustin, this is the thing he's most well known for in terms of what he's done. So, if anything, I'm glad that that guy was able to get this made. And I think it's been something that has meant a lot to people. And it's also nice that Kevin S. Tenney at least is able to get a really kick-ass movie out of it. Like I said, I'm not the hugest on Witchboard, even though apparently there is a remake coming out and it's by Chuck Russell and it'll be coming out at some point. I don't know when, but I want to see it kind of just because I'm like, it can't be any worse than the original, I guess, right? But that could be a fun time for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I'll check it out.
Yeah, totally. Again, watched The Substance already, so that was fun. But I kind of want to see. It was supposed to come out like sometime this year, and maybe it's been pushed back or something. Who the hell knows? Like, you never know about any of this. But yeah, I'm trying to think. Do you have any kind of sort of final thoughts to talk about when it comes to Night of the Demons? Is there anything you kind of want to why do you think this movie has kind of had the legacy it's had, you think? If you had to kind of give your
I think
expert
it
opinion.
is. I mean, my opinion would be, I really think it's a good movie to have on during like a Halloween party or like
Hmm.
something in the ooky spooky. Because it is technically a movie. You don't necessarily need to have like the sound on. You can just have it playing in the background,
Hmm.
and it will just give you that macabre kind of sinister, like goofy, scary type of vibe that would match with something. I think it's a fun party movie. Just get your friends around and just watch it. Like, turn off all the lights, have some
Hmm.
popcorn, have some candles lit, and like it just sets up a good atmosphere for like
Hmm.
a fun time. You can laugh with it, you can scream with it, you can just play with it.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think this movie has kind of carved itself out as being like a little Halloween favorite for people. I think it has definitely scarred people in their childhoods, which is why they kind of then became horror fans. Angela is kind of in that pantheon of horror villains. Being a female is also pretty awesome too. So, I think if anything, the creators of this hopefully have been able to kind of reap the benefits of this now having a legacy when maybe at the time it was kind of obscurity. It kind of went into obscurity and then got new life from home video.
But
But
this will
yeah,
always be my second favorite Angela for horror slasher
of
franchises.
course, of course. We love Angela Baker in this house, obviously.
We stand good for her, justice for Judy.
Oh gosh. Anyway, I need to we'll have to think about maybe doing maybe a rewatch or maybe a kind of redo on the sleepaway camp episode
I
perhaps.
have a full dissertation prepared for whenever you want to do.
I'm thinking about doing it for some just because it's like, well, Jesse, can't you do other things? I'm like, mind your business. Like I can, you know.
It's time. People redo their episodes
Oh
sometimes.
yeah.
People find some new things. Yeah, it's just, yeah, it's sleepaway camps. Just be prepared. That might be a long.
That may be a very long episode. You have a lot to say about it. Yeah,
I
no, maybe
have,
I'll
I
have to do
have,
that.
I have thoughts, opinions, and feelings.
Okay, there you go. But I think that kind of brings a nice little wrap onto Night of the Demons. I like this movie. I'll probably end up watching it. If I haven't already watched it, I already watched it in September, but I'll probably watch it again this month. And I hope anybody who's listening has as well. And yeah, I just think it's a good time and I think it's absolutely a cult film. And I just wanted to talk about it and, kind of sing its praises and talk about why I think it's really cool. But I think that's all to be said, Pickens. But thank you so much for coming on the show today. I know we had to work this out a little bit with scheduling, but I really enjoyed our time together and our
I always
discussion
enjoy
of
your time
this.
together. I always
Yeah.
enjoy your time together, Jesse.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Do you want to plug your socials or anything like that? Anything that, do you have anything you want people to know you're working on? I guess probably not, but might
Well,
as
I'm
well.
always working on myself. Oh my gosh. No, just follow me on Instagram. It's at Party Pickens.
Yes.
My account is private now because corporate, but I will pretty much accept anybody, especially if you're cute. So yeah, have fun,
Exactly.
follow me.
Yeah.
Enjoy the chaos.
Yes, he's always a fun one to watch and see. But yeah, and then of course you can follow the show on social media. All social media links are in the notes, of course. And then podcatcher of choice, please give me 5 stars, leave a review, all that good stuff. Follow me on Letterboxd and all that good shit. But yeah, but for next week, we're going out of, spooky season Pickens. But I
Come
am
back,
doing
come back.
I know, come back. But we are moving into November. And to start off the month, I decided I wanted to do a little something. We're going back a while back now. This is maybe the oldest movie I've done on this podcast now. But I'm going to be covering next week. I'm going to be doing a little new movie from 1965. And I'll be doing Faster Pussycat Kill Kill.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yes.
I saw this with a double feature with Showgirls at a local theater, and
Okay.
it was so Showgirls was the first one, but
Right.
I'd always been curious about Faster Pussycat Kill Kill because I've just heard about it through Quentin Tarantino and all the
Right.
references and everything. And boy, did I tell you that movie was something else, and I am obsessed with
Yes, yes, of course. Written into Russ Meyer, man. Like, obviously, we got to get into it. So, I'm gonna have a great guest for that next week. So please go out and listen to that, of course, and it'll be a good time, man. But yes, that's what you have to look forward to next week. But as always, thank you all so much for taking the time to listen to the Cult Cinema Circle podcast. And remember, happy Halloween, dears. Take care. Bye.